Welcome to another podcast from Not Shy in Texas. I am Jeff McGroarty,
and I'm Nikki McGroarty,
my better half. And tonight's topic is going to be something that is very, very close to our situation: is a one-income family. All right, let's dive right in. And in today's world, the necessity of having two paychecks to survive is common in families, in most families anyway. Gone are the days of husbands heading off to work and the wife staying home, tending to the household duties, and taking care of the children. In our case, it'd be the fur babies. Speaking of personal experience, having only one income is a daily, weekly, and monthly struggle in which dealing with trying to stretch every dollar out of a paycheck is usually a daunting and endless task. No, it doesn't. Having to spend every week going through expenses and deciding what bills you're going to pay in full or partly, and then having to plan meals right down to the letter, taking into consideration the overall cost while having money to provide for your, in our case, our pets. So they come first and forward, and then we come second. The biggest problem with that is you don't always have the money to do everything. So again, you have to do creative accounting. What'd I say?
Yeah, creative. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But that creative accounting also is a doom loop, constant loop.
Yes. It's a never ending cycle of trying to figure out what exactly you're going to spend on, where, how, what bills you're going to have to pay, and so forth and so on. So some of the problems that come with income families is limited job opportunities. Sometimes jobs aren't always available in the current economy. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. So having a good paying job is sometimes hard to achieve, to where people are having to work 1, 2, or in even some cases 3 jobs,
right,
just to make ends meet. And then that digs into more time away from home, more time away from the kids, let more stress on the financials, using up more gas in the car. It's just a whole snowball of everything that encompasses having to have more than one job. And in our case, it's not always viable or feasible to where having your spouse work. In our case, my wife is disabled, has been for a few years now. So basically, my paycheck, whatever I make through my full-time job and now a part-time job that I had to get, is basically our entire existence goes off that paycheck.
and I can try. Being disabled limits me greatly about what I can do, and I thought about trying. I used to sell Scentsy a long time ago, and when you have family and a big group of friends, it's, you can start there and work off, but I don't have that. So we're going to try it again, and it's just not working out.
Right. It's because it's not a guaranteed income.
Right.
And unfortunately, you don't always have the option of having a guaranteed income. You could lose your job at any point for any reason. Lately, I've seen corporate layoffs where people that have worked for years at their job, suddenly that job is no longer there. So now people are having to scramble. They come home and, one of the worst things especially is getting into the holiday season where you have Thanksgiving and Christmas, and it's the end of the year. Having to come home and tell your spouse that you're suddenly unemployed, that you got laid off from work, now it sends families into scramble mode, to where hopefully that whoever just got laid off either has something lined up, or they have qualifications that they can get something quick, or worst case scenario, they have to actually go out and do something that they just don't want to do, but they have to do.
Right.
So one of the other things is discrimination sometimes.
Yeah.
Whether you're black, white, Hispanic, Asian, man, woman. Sometimes companies have hiring requirements, hiring quotas, to where you may be qualified and versus somebody else that's equally qualified, but because of economic situations and discrimination sometimes, that companies will not tell you. They will just tell you that that person was better suited for the job and better qualified. And it unfortunately comes down to the fact that either they're a woman, you're a male, you're black, they're white, Asian, Hispanic, whatever. But it's nothing you can control. Any thoughts on that one?
Well, they can't come out and tell you that it's because, they're this color, that color, because it's a male or female. But a person, can go out there, and most job is online now.
Right.
You're not even going into a company to interview. You're doing it online. You're doing it on, and sometimes that can be a hinder. If you can't pay your bills, then you might not have internet.
Right, exactly. Like just recently I had to pick up a part-time job because the overtime at my full-time job is going away for the most part. So to help us out, I picked up a part-time job and my interview was through online. I didn't actually physically go into an office to sit down with somebody. And like my wife said, you don't always have, especially in your more rural areas where you may or may not have internet signal. So a lot of your online jobs that you can get, like the work from home jobs, require a stable internet connection. However, if you don't have a stable internet connection or you can pay your internet provider, that's kind of impossible to do.
Right. And, him, we're still basically a one-income family, even though you have picked up a second job.
Right.
And going back to our second podcast, the reason I'm disabled, but I don't get anything for being disabled.
Right. That's the other thing. If just because somebody's disabled doesn't mean they're going to get any kind of financial assistance from the government.
So I don't contribute. I mean, I can't contribute to the household.
Right. Exactly. And then again, that's a financial burden on the family. It can cause stress in the family. It can cause stress between spouses. Again, trying to provide, especially if you have children,
Right.
human children, that is, not four-legged, even though they're just as needy. You don't always. Again, you have to stretch and you have to play literally Tetris with your money. You have to sit down when you get your paycheck and go, okay, my paycheck is say $1,800 this week or 2 weeks. So now you have to take that $1,800. You have to figure out what bills you have coming up that you have to pay, such as your priorities, your electric, your water,
Car payment.
right?
You have a mortgage.
Mortgage. Thank God we don't.
Yeah.
But we do have a car payment now. But you do have to sit there and basically divide it up. Okay, what can I pay? What's coming up when? What can I put off till the next paycheck? And then again, it's a vicious cycle. So whatever you don't pay this paycheck, you now have to pay the next paycheck.
Right. Or you have to
Make payments.
Payment arrangements
Right.
with your bills.
Mhm.
And now you've got so much coming out of every check for every bill because you've made payment arrangements.
Right. And then you have to remember that you have made these arrangements. That's the other thing. With the way schedules work sometimes, you don't always remember what you put aside money for or what you have to put money aside. Sometimes you forget.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, 2 weeks later, you have something come out that you completely forgot about 2 weeks earlier that you planned for. And you're going, all right, where'd this go? And then you realize, oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot I did this.
And then say you put the money back for all the bills that are going to come out for that 2-week period.
Mm-hmm.
And now you still have to get gas
Groceries.
and groceries and food and prescriptions and,
Right. It's not just, yeah, exactly. It's not that you can just go, okay, well, I have $1,800. Okay, I have to spend this, this, and this. Well,
Yeah,
again, like you just said, prescriptions, food, gas for the car to get back and forth to work.
right.
And it's not always feasible. Even if you have a really good paying job, it's in today's economy, it's getting better than it's been in the last
4 years.
4 years, but it's still not where it needs to be. Like the current situation of the government shutdown.
Right.
That's been going on for what, 35, 36 days now? 40 days? Well,
Yeah.
now people that are on SNAP benefits, in which like we don't qualify for that,
No.
unfortunately, are having to scramble to provide food for their families because of the Democrats that want to provide health care for all these illegal aliens in the country. And they're basically keeping the government shut down, which is affecting not only your air traffic controllers, which are going without a paycheck. That is essential service. Planes people have to get from point A to point B. And with the lack of air traffic controllers not wanting to work without a paycheck, because I know I wouldn't want to work without a paycheck.
Well, some of them can't.
Right.
And they're having to become Uber drivers.
Right. Or Lyft or right. Just to
put food on
put food on their table. And it's again that becomes a stress on a family. The stress associated with money is utterly astounding on how much it can affect a family and a relationship. And your health as well. Yes, exactly. A study by Thriving Wallet found that 90% of Americans stress about money impacting their stress levels and overall well-being. The stress is often linked to financial considerations, which can influence major life milestones and everyday activities, not just big events like family vacations. Again, paying your light bill, paying your electric bill, paying your cable bill, putting gas in your car, paying your car insurance so you're legal to drive.
Yeah, and I've heard people say, well, you can do without cable. Well, I'm disabled. I'm home 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. What am I supposed to do?
Right, exactly.
I'm watching TV.
Right.
Or I'm on the computer.
Exactly. It's not always possible to do without.
Right.
It's not always possible to do without. And that's one of the biggest problems. You still have to provide everything for your family. You have to take care of your family. It's part of it. Unfortunately, again, with the ever-rising cost of goods and services in the U.S., making ends meet is not always possible, and more times not possible.
Right, and then that's where the doom cycle comes in, because now you're looking at payday loans,
right?
Which
are high interest.
Yeah, but also like the ones that don't charge an interest, but they charge just a small fee for every time.
Right.
But then it comes out the next paycheck. So now you're less that money the next paycheck. So now you have to do it again to make up for what you need for that paycheck. So it's like a doom circle.
Right, exactly. And it's not always, again, it's not always possible not to do these things. Like in our situation, we've relied on this one, basically a payday loan app for months now.
Right.
And again, like my wife said, it's a vicious cycle. You have to use this money, and then 2 weeks later, it comes out of your bank account. And then 2 weeks later, you have to do the same thing over, and then you keep doing it over and over and over again. And again, this is all just part of the problems of being even being a two-income family.
Yeah.
Even being a two-income family. Say both me and my wife both work. it's still hard to make ends meet just because of the cost of everything. Everything is, people back in the 50s and 60s and 70s, the cost, if you look back at the prices back then versus the prices now, they're way higher. But even over the past 4 years, prices have not come down that much to make a difference in people's lives.
Right. I mean, gas is coming down, which that's energy, if it doesn't cost the truck drivers as much to bring the items, then the cost of things start going down. But you have to get that cycle. It has to come down, and then the prices come down to haul the stuff, and then it costs less to get the stuff into the store.
Right, exactly. And that's one of the things President Trump is trying to do. He's trying to get away from as much as possible of importing goods and services from across the big pond.
Right.
And that's why he's charging the tariffs on all these foreign countries that ship literally everything. Because it comes from over there, it gets on a boat, it gets on a plane, then it comes into a port, and then from the port it goes onto a truck or a train lately, but you still have to pay your truck drivers to move the products.
Right.
You still have to pay the shipping companies to ship the products.
Yeah.
And then it goes to the stores, and the stores have to pay for the trucks to bring them their products. Say Walmart, it's $1 billion company, it's a global operation. But yet, they still have to pay for all the stuff that comes into the stores. Now, I've worked a job where I've seen the warehouses for the food, refrigerated goods, bananas, stuff like that. So I know what it takes to get this stuff into and on the shelves. And again, it's coming from the warehouses to the stores, and then onto the shelves, then onto your household or your table or whatever. But it still costs. Nothing is free. If anybody tells you that they're going to offer, oh, we're going to give you all this free stuff,
Yeah. Socialism
does not work at all.
Socialism, like this Mondami or whatever his name is up
In New York City, yes.
He promised freeze rate. He's going to freeze the rent rates in there, but he's freezing them at the highest they've ever been.
Right. It's not. He's not waiting to. He's not going to do anything for the blue collar worker.
So the rent's not going to go down.
No. It just can't go up, but it's still high.
Right. And so that doesn't help.
No.
And now he's saying, oh, all the bus rides are going to be free. Well, then that means that the homeless and the vagrants and people who may have ill intentions can sit there and ride the bus all day long.
Right, exactly. Because it's free. They don't have to pay for it. But again, buses don't run for free.
Right. Somebody has to
pay for the maintenance. Somebody has to pay the guys that work on the buses, that drive the buses. Somebody has to pay for the gas and diesel that goes into the buses, even electric buses.
But you still have to plug them in somewhere.
You still have to plug them into. Exactly. So which puts a strain on the electricity grid. Now, especially with this time of year, for most of the country, it's getting into the cooler months.
Yep.
Here in Texas is the opposite. I believe they think it's still summer out.
Well, it's going to be cold tonight, but
yeah, one day.
Going back up to the 80s, 70s and 80s.
Right. But you still have to, and again, this is where you can't go without electricity. You have to have heat.
Yeah, down here in Texas, it's all electric, so your heater is in your furnace, your AC, it's all in one unit. But up north, I know y'all have to buy your...
Mm-hmm. Some people don't have the luxury. They have propane heaters.
Yeah, or they have to buy the oil or whatever.
Exactly. Or they have to buy the oil, which I have been there too. I've been on the propane side and I've been on the oil side, and that is very, very, very expensive. And it goes by like that. It empties really quick. And then, again, then you're back to square one. So it's that vicious cycle of getting your paycheck, figuring out where everything goes, paying what you can, then leaving yourself money for the what ifs, which isn't always possible, and then you still have to buy food.
Yeah. And I know some people are going to say, well, you made a choice to have the animals. You could get rid of those and save you money, but
Right. And if anybody ever says, well, you have the choice of just get rid of the animals, I'll tell them, well, just get rid of your kid then.
because these animals are our kids.
Right. They are my family. I have 4 sons. They're all covered in fur, but they're just as needy, just as expensive. You have to get medical care. You have to provide food for them. You have to take care of them. The only thing I don't do is clothe them. Some people do. I don't. Except in the wintertime. I put a coat on them so they're protected on the outside. But we still have to take care of them. And then we have to provide for ourselves. And we've gone without.
Yep.
So we can provide for them.
Which is our choice.
Which is our choice. Right. But again, I say you can't always plan for the what ifs.
Right.
A few months back, we had our dog Lucky somehow got a hold of my wife's inhaler, bit into it, knocked it off the table. Or my other cat, Shadow, knocked it off the table. Well, Lucky got a hold of it because he likes chewing on things once in a while. He got a hold of it, got ingested with albuterol. Albuterol is fatal for dogs. So we had to rush him to the emergency vents, and that was $700. Originally, it was going to be a lot more.
Yeah.
But they worked it down to $700. But that $700 we didn't have. Luckily, I had a brand new credit card that I got that I literally maxed out instantaneously to take care of my son Lucky. And that's just, even if it's human kids. Stuff happens.
Yeah. They get hurt, they get sick, you have to take them to the doctor.
Yep.
It's the same thing.
Yep. It's not easy and sometimes impossible.
And nobody has the money right now if you're in a, we don't even make, what, 60,000 a year?
No, not at all.
Okay. So we're 60,000 or under a year.
Yep.
And you think about that and the cost of everything, and how do you think people are supposed to survive with just the basics?
Right. And we've done the basic meals.
You're right.
And again, it's not always possible. You don't always have the I would say choices of going basic, because people need bread, they need vegetables, they need milk for calcium. There are certain things your body needs that they just can't do without.
Protein.
It needs protein, carbohydrates. Especially in some people's cases, like ours, we're trying to downsize our waistline, but that requires money.
Right, because the stuff that's good for you is a whole lot more expensive than the processed food that's cheaper. And something else people, like in our situation, we had, the Chevy Equinox.
Yep, that was fully paid off.
Yeah, we actually did real good on that, but
one day going to work, it just stopped running.
What are you going to do? And it was a catastrophic engine failure.
Right. It would have cost us
$10,000.
Yeah, the estimate was $10,000 to get it fixed.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know of anybody that has $10,000 just laying around, because we don't.
And nobody that can help us get $10,000 to help pay for it.
So we had to get...
So we had to use it and the second car that we had
Right.
to down payment for another car.
Right. And that's the what ifs. And that was just me going to work one day at 5 o'clock in the morning, like I normally do. Right outside our neighborhood, the car just quit running, then wouldn't start again. So then I had to get it towed back to the house, which was $100.
Right. And it was less than,
Less than not even a quarter of a mile.
yeah, it was less than a half a mile.
Yeah. And then I had to get it towed to a shop. And then I had to wait for the estimate on what it was, and I was hoping it was something simple. Unfortunately, it wasn't. But again, now we had to buy a dependable vehicle, and now it's costing us $642 a month.
Yeah.
So that's those what ifs that you can't always plan for. The average, like groceries, the price of groceries goes up and down like a Six Flags roller coaster. One day you can afford them, one week you can't. The average cost of groceries in 2025 is around $235 a week, which is more than $900 per person. And additionally, that's not just a flat rate. Groceries here in Texas will cost less than groceries up in my home state of New Jersey because of the cost of living is greater up there. Just like rent is higher up there, gas is higher up there. God forbid you live in California, because then gas prices are $5 a gallon, but yet they say, hey, we're doing fantastic over here. We're providing for everybody. Yeah, no, that's why everybody's leaving California. But that's a completely different podcast. So, but the average cost of just basic groceries, you could easily go to the store and buy just the necessities, like I've done before, like we've done before in the past, and it's costing you $300 and $400 and $500 just to buy your bread, your milk, your eggs, chicken, ground beef. Ground beef for a 10-pound shove of ground beef that you can get at Walmart is now $30, $35.
Yeah.
A 3-pound of ground beef is $15. So, yes, it's half, but
When you used to be able to buy that 10-pound
for $18.
Yeah.
For $18. Now, eggs, I am happy to say, we buy the 60 count at Walmart, and it is now currently $10. At one point in the Biden administration, it was up to $25 an hour, or $25 for a 60 count of eggs.
Right.
So that tells me that you're not buying eggs, or you're buying the smaller cartons, which don't last as long.
Right. You can't do as much with
Right. Like a lot of times we do. We don't always do dinner for dinner. We do breakfast for dinner a lot, which is kind of our thing. We've been doing it for years. It's just the way, to kind of break things up. But when you can't afford eggs and you're trying to do breakfast, kind of impossible.
Right.
That's either some really, really expensive chickens
Well, yeah.
or the cost
was-
of everything to produce everything.
Well, when they were that high, the Biden administration had told them to kill a bunch of chickens because of bird flu.
Oh, the bird flu, yes.
Yeah.
That's right.
So it took time for the new chickens to hatch and new chickens to grow up to lay it.
Right, exactly. And that's just it. You can't always, people go to the grocery stores, and again, you have to buy groceries. You have to provide for your family.
And I don't know what we would do because I know it's cheaper to live here in Texas than it is in the Northeast.
Oh, exactly. Well, that's what I was
The
saying
groceries.
when you stepped out. I was saying that, God forbid, my home state in New Jersey, everything's double what is down here up there.
Right.
And God forbid, California.
Mhm. Yeah.
I don't have anybody survives living in California, the state of California. It just baffles me. Even your celebrities that make millions and millions of dollars a year are leaving California because everything's too high. And they're coming to Texas, right? So it's one of those things where something has to change. Something in this economy has to change to make things better for the working family. I'm not talking about the wealthy. I'm not talking about the millionaires. I'm talking about the blue collar, mom and dad, or just dad goes to work, mom stays home with the family. That's the kind of people that we're talking about here. Because we're the ones that are suffering on a daily basis by not being able to provide for our families, again, being a one income family. And at any time, again, I mean, I love the job I have. I love the people I work with. It's a phenomenal company. But at any point in time, they could decide to go a different direction with the EMT security position I have, like hiring private outside people. And then I'll be out of a job. And then having to scramble to provide for my family and get.
Because there is no saving.
No, we don't. We have, right now, we have under, I'd say, $1,000 to our name. And that's not from lack of trying.
Right.
That's just from necessity. Again, one income family. Even like I said before.
And part of that 1,000 that we have right now is waiting for bills to come out.
Right. Exactly. So you have to plan for that. So you could say, hey, I have $1,000. That's great. But you have $600 coming out for the next monthly bills.
Right.
Well, that means you have $400 to your name.
And then that $400 to groceries or prescription came in, or
right, because people have to stay healthy. That's how you have to be able to get to work. If you're not healthy,
well, if I don't have my prescription, I'm in.
It's a bad day.
Yeah, very bad day.
Right. Or, like I said, in our situation, I was having abdominal issues one night.
Yeah.
And it turned out to be a bowel obstruction. So I ended up in the hospital for 4 days.
With a tube down it.
With a tube down my nose, which if anybody has ever had to do this, it's called an NG tube. Do not do it. Refuse it. Refuse it. Refuse it. It sucks. But those, again, are the unplanned things. So I had to take PTO from work because I was out of work. I have a surgery coming up on my knee. I have to take another day of PTO, a vacation day. I know we don't take vacations because we can't afford them.
No.
My vacation is sitting at home in my recliner. That's my vacation.
You're a staycation.
I'm a staycation, right? Because again, we can't afford to do anything. We're fortunate enough to have our house that we live in is fully paid off. We paid cash for it. If our Equinox didn't have the issues, that would have we been better off and be saving $600 a month for a car payment that we have to pay off. But again, it's still a struggle.
And we're a one-car family, so with your schedule, your rotating schedule, so
you couldn't even get a job if you wanted to.
Right.
Because we only have one car.
Right.
And with my current schedule, it's impossible. Because again, it's a rotating day and night schedule. And even, again, there's really no part-time jobs that you can do that don't require sitting at home, because you can't always sit here in the chair for extended periods of time. Or if you wake up with other issues that you have, you can't. But again, back on topic here. I know we got off it for this brief second there, but basically to finish it up, being a one-income family by no means is an easy thing to do. So my advice is do the best you can. You get very good at creative accounting with your bills. You get very good at that. And it doesn't always work out. But hopefully in the next year or 2 years or 3 years or 5 years, the government will figure out how to make things more affordable for the American public on every aspect, not just ones that they want to choose. Gas has to come down. It's coming down, but gas has to come down. Groceries have to come down. Electricity costs have to come down. Healthcare costs definitely have to come down. You have $1,000 deductibles on your healthcare plan. And if you're not somebody that goes to the doctor all the time, like me, this year's been the exception to the rule. You don't use them. I'm a firm believer that these CEOs of these big companies, like Aetna, Blue Cross Blue Shield, just to name a few, are getting wealthy. And you don't always have the option of having good benefits. I worked the 911 service here in Ellis County, and the benefits were horrible. I couldn't afford them. It was going to be roughly about $600 a paycheck just to have benefits for me and my wife. Even the healthcare.gov, the Obamacare that the Democrats are trying to extend, which, sorry, give it up. It's failed. Move on. You still can't. Because my wife had it. And I can't say it didn't help us out at the time. But again, that goes off income. So years ago, and this is what happened to us, years ago, we had the healthcare.gov where we were basically paying nothing for health insurance, and it was through Baylor, Scott and White. So it was really good insurance.
Yeah, it was good.
It was phenomenal insurance because it was through a hospital. Unfortunately, back in 2007, my mom passed away. And then in 2011, my dad passed away. So one of the years that we were on the healthcare.gov, I got an inheritance from my parents. Well, because it was counted as income, now all of a sudden they're saying, oh, well, your income's not this. It's now $70-some thousand a year. Well, my income at the time was like $22,000.
Right. So our income was not.
So our income wasn't $72,000, but because of the way the laws were, they counted my inheritance as income in relation to the health insurance. So then we spent the next, 5 years?
Yeah.
Paying off almost $5,000 in back subsidies for Obamacare. All because of an inheritance. And we were still going off the same income we had, the one income. Because my wife hasn't worked since 2007 due to her medical conditions. But again, having two incomes isn't always feasible.
Well, we're having to pay Obama's subsidies now because I was on it before you got your current job.
Right.
And you made, what, 2,000, 3,000 over?
Mm-hmm.
And now we're having to pay almost $2,000 back for subsidies for the Obamacare.
Yep. So it got us not once, but twice.
We'll never doing that again.
No, absolutely not. But anyway, to kind of wrap things up here, families are struggling on a daily, weekly, and monthly basis to provide for their own. The families don't care about the politics. They don't care about Democrats and Republicans fighting like cats and dogs in Washington. They do, however, care about the government being shut down because that's affecting incomes and lives. And again, this ties back to the one-income family of now all of a sudden you're making nothing because even our military is not getting paid.
Right.
So the people that are out there defending our freedom in all parts of the world are not getting a paycheck. Now imagine if you were in that situation, say you worked to be an aircraft controller or you were in the military. Well, now you're not getting a paycheck. And if your spouse isn't working, now you have no income coming in your family. So you went from being able to provide for your family to now struggling and trying to figure out what you can do to keep the lights on, keep food on the table.
Right. Because the electric company doesn't care if you're not don't have an income coming in.
No. And they will shut your power off like that. They don't
Right.
care. They don't care. These corporations, the electric company, the cable company, the phone company, everybody uses cell phones. Very few people use landlines. But again, if you have no power in your house, you're not going to have a phone.
Right.
If you can't pay your bills, you're not going to have a phone.
And one income family, it's every 2 weeks, every day of the 2 weeks from paycheck to paycheck, you're wondering if this bill's going to get paid, if that bill's going to get paid. Are we going to live off more than just sandwiches for 2 weeks?
Right. Cheap food.
Yeah. Because
I call it broke food.
well, this is really broke food because, basically we bought the 60-count eggs,
Mm-hmm.
lunch meat, and a 3-pound thing of hamburger meat.
Right.
And that has to last us 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
That's what we're going to live off of.
Exactly. So now imagine doing that same shopping that we just did and having to provide for actual human kids. So now you're feeding, instead of just a family of 2, you're feeding a family of 4, 5, 6, 7, God forbid. These people out there having kid after kid after kid after kid and wanting the government handouts. I'm sorry, but...
And I'm all for people having, if you're an American citizen, getting help, but
Mhm.
it's not there to be it's supposed to be a hand up, get you to where, until you can get, up on your feet. It's not a career.
Right.
To be on
to be on food stamps, to be on welfare, to be on, because
I've seen all these, since the SNAP benefits, people who've been on $2,500 a month SNAP benefits.
Right. That's unheard of.
And they're saying they can't do it because they can't buy their steaks.
The last time I had a good steak, that was a luxury to us.
Yeah.
I love a good steak just as the next person.
I think we go out maybe twice a year.
If
once
that.
for our anniversary.
Right, and once for your birthday.
And my birthday, because I like to go on the border.
Right. Margaritaville.
Yeah.
But yeah, you have to do without. And again, this is where you have to make these decisions every single day on what you're going to pay, what you're not going to pay, what you can pay. What kind of groceries you plan out meals? Down to the vegetables that you're going to buy.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I can't afford corn this week, so I'm going to buy peas because they're 10 cents cheaper. Or I have to buy the dollar store version of the potatoes because the ones I really like I can't afford.
Right.
You
have to buy the store-bought.
Or you have to
the
store brand, right? Just because it's less inexpensive. Right. You can't always buy. You can't always buy the medication you want.
No.
You have to buy the no-name brand just because it's cheaper.
Sometimes.
And you still need it. And it works just as good. Exactly. But anyway, so that's pretty much it for this podcast of being a one-income family. Again, this is Shy, Not Shy in Texas. Like our videos, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and we will see you on the next podcast. I believe it's going to be on surviving Washington politics.
Yeah.
I think is the next one.
Yeah.
So that ought to be a pretty good one. So for now, we will talk to you later. And you guys have a good evening.